What's up, y'all? Rich Slayton here. While Clash Royale League for 2022 might be done, there is more Clash Royale esports going on right now, and today I'm going to bring you a great best of 3 from the European region in the Snapdragon Pro Series Season 2 happening right now. It's Surgical Goblin, 2019's Clash Royale League World Champion, up against top 8 from this year's CRL World Finals, Vitor out of Portugal. Now, of course, there's more Snapdragon Pro Series going on. Go to snapdragonproseries.com, link in the description below, so you can compete in both the North America and the EU MENA regions for that competition. And of course, before we get started, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, leave a comment, use code RICH in the Supercell shop, all that good stuff. That's it. That's enough. Let's jump right into this one. Vitor against Surgical Goblin. Let's go. And we are doing these from replays as they don't have a live broadcast, but it is a phenomenal matchup. You can see Surge going with Lava, probably Lava Clone here, up against what looks like a variation of Royal Hog's Earthquake with the Archer Queen and the newly buffed Goblin Gang in the mix here for Vitor as Lava sets to the right-hand side. Archer Queen in reply from Vitor75. And this is a big early push from Surgical Goblin. Canada pick up, does get the Lumberjack, does not get the Lava Hound. And does the clone come down here? Yes, it does. AQ goes bye-bye. Tower gets absolutely annihilated. And that is an early tower down and a very unlikely comeback against Fireball plus Skarmy for a Royal Hogs deck. And you see Vitor a little bit of emotion coming out there from our top 8 world finalists. Vitor, of course, been around in Clash Royale for quite a long time. One of those guys who came up through the burgeoning semi-pro scene in 2019, and Surge going to eat a little bit of damage here on the left-hand side, choosing not to fireball the pigs. Instead, going to get those DPS down with that flying machine and counter push instead. Is the former world champion. As I said before, Vitor came up through the semi-pro ranks, made his professional CRL debut in 2020 in part of that Pain Gaming squad that made top 4 at Worlds. Queen now protected by the Goblin Gang. This clone push not going to do anywhere near as much for Surgical Goblin. And really, the clone the first time around did a great job because it was timed perfectly with that Archer Queen being in too much trouble. But now, just like that, kaboom, Vitor does get back in this one. So Surge with an interesting choice not to fireball the pigs the first time and instead push directly into it with the Lava Hound. Now we have a 2-tower game. And that AQ goes into the ability and gets a lot of damage on that King Tower. So suddenly, Vitor back in this one. I am really curious about Surgical Goblin's choice not to fireball that. Maybe it was a cycle issue, and once the flying machine was down, didn't want to spend the fireball. But that, to me, is one of the more interesting points in this entire game. AQ sets up left for Vitor. And now a heavy push in the pocket, taking advantage of that big elixir lead. Clone comes down, going to absolutely shred through everything in the middle. Pigs to distract. They're not distracting that much, though. Fireball now out of cycle, choosing to let the bats plus Lumberjack take care of that defense. So Surgical Goblin really playing all pressure the whole way. For a version of Lava Clone that has lots of defensive capability, I'm a little surprised by the all-gas, no-brakes approach by Surgical Goblin. Now down to 762 on the right-hand side. Vitor looking pretty good here in game number 1. Pigs to the right. Surge has to fireball. Does. Cleans up everything. Pocket Lava Hound doing damage in 2 lanes. Now bats to support. Cannon Cart. Those bats doing coast-to-coast duty. And with that Lumberjack going down, getting the towers down to 473, and now the flying machine goes untouched down to 6 HP. Just have to get Fireball down, and Surgical Goblin has this one. Does get back to Fireball. That's going to be a GG, a well-played. Vitor with the pocket play from those Royal Hogs, but it's not going to be enough. Surgical Goblin getting that great early tower in the right-hand lane with the clone played very, very late for those pups and, of course, for that baby dragon, and then pushing all the way through to get that tower. Interesting choice there on the left-hand side, not fireballing on defense. Maybe opened the door a little bit, but that flying machine at the end, that's what sealed the deal and got a big-time game number 1 for Surgical Goblin. Let's go ahead and jump into game number 2 of this matchup. You can see the decks already played there on the left-hand side. The Lava Clone for Surge and the Royal Hogs Archer Queen for Vitor. Those 8 cards on each side out. We are playing in duel mode. And again, if you want to participate in this competition yourself, still plenty of more qualifiers, both in the NA region and the Europe, Middle East, North Africa region. Go to SnapdragonProSeries.com for more information. You can also find all their stuff on Twitter as well. And Royal Giant for Surge here against, this time, Lava Miner for Vitor. Interesting to see Surgical Goblin going with the lightning variation of Royal Giant. Maybe he just wanted to play Royal Giant. Lightning not going to be phenomenal in this matchup. Not terrible, but also not great in this matchup. He's going to have to figure out how to get value with those skeleton dragons in the mix. And look at that! Giant Skeleton gets all the way into that tower, and big kaboom. And the Miner gets in high, does enough to tank a little bit here for those pups and puts Vitor right back in it. 2094 to 1984 as the Flying Machine picks up that Fisherman. Again, that Lightning, we saw some use there, but still wasn't able to mitigate as much damage. Really, the entire reason why there's a big damage difference is that Giant Skeleton able to sneak on through the first time. We'll see if Vitor lets that happen again, or if he's able to shut things down. Tombstone to control the GS coming his way. And that Tombstone should be sufficient to make up the Elixir lead. Yep, there you go. Makes it the difference now. Surge and Vitor going into the final minute of regulation. Pretty even on Elixir, so just letting that Giant Skeleton cross, didn't worry about it too much, and now this is going to be a nice, easy. Go ahead and eat that up. I don't think that Surge Lightning's deep here. Doesn't go. He could have gone for tower damage, plus get the Inferno Dragon out of that conversation with the Royal Ghost, but would have been left really thirsty here. Now he's going to have to Lightning the support. The Flying Machine spread nicely for Vitor. It does come in range, though. Lightning not going to be there. And not needed. The Giant Skeleton is the one that cleans everything up. 1143 to now 1590. Flying Machine once again in our second game, creating some opportunities. Inferno Dragon at the bridge. Lightning might get used here, and it does for the nice little reset. Skeleton King. And look at that. Surgical Goblin knows that that was not going to do what he wanted. Trying to push opposite direction with the Royal Giant, see if he can steal this one. That's going to be really hard to do. Tombstone gets cleared out. Lava Hound on one side. Royal Giant will not do enough, and that's a Minor Skeleton Dragon, 2 more Skelly Drags, a Flying Machine, and a Partridge and a Pear Tree. Surgical Goblin saw the writing on the wall, waved the white flag, and knew that was all over. Vitor with a really, really nice counterplay there at the end. The Lightning at the bridge just not quite doing what he wants. And Surgical Goblin certainly back in competitive form. We saw him get very, very close for CRL World Finals last year. But you see just some very different play style, maybe a little less patient than we've seen before in the past. But of course, he still has a wonderful 2023 and the rest of 2022 ahead of him. And of course, one more game as well. Let's go ahead and jump into game number 3 and see who takes this one. Lightning and Fireball both out for Surge. Arrows, Fireball, Log, and Delivery. Bait does feel kind of open for Surgical Goblin, but you see instead both guys going with Drill. Zappies for Surge. We'll see if Vitor is playing the exact same variation here. So NATO for both sides, and looks like E-Wiz for Vitor. So slight difference in the setup for these two. Surgical Goblin going with the Zappies variation, Vitor with the Ewiz variation. Surge didn't play Ewiz earlier. Very curious. He's going with Zappies here. Gotta wonder what it was he was looking for. They decided to play Zappies in this matchup. The Cannon Cart does connect, and again, Surgical Goblin calling good game. Maybe a little early here, but so low on Elixir. Does know there's no Fireball. Maybe that's why he likes it here, is knowing there's no Fireball. Zappies do get a little bit more value than when there is Fireball, but a nice Magic Archer lineup, and Vitor just roars into the lead. 30-27 to 11-16. Now keep in mind, this deck on both sides can get a lot of damage back quickly. We just saw how much you can do very, very fast with the Magic Archer, of course, Golden Knight NATO combinations, but in a mirror matchup, man, that is a huge place to be behind for Surge as we pass the midway point of regulation time. Cannon Cart set up for the former world champion, Vitor, with his Golden Knight marching down the right-hand side of the board. Supports with the Cannon Cart, and Surge knowing, again, no Fireball, and that's actually a good pick on both sides, now that you think about it. With Fireball out, Magic Archer gets a whole lot more value as well, and that's a cheeky little NATO there, but doesn't quite do what Vitor wanted, and that does give a little Elixir advantage there to Surgical Goblin as we go into double. Splitting the Zappies, 2 to the left, 1 to the right. Dark Prince to support the Ewas on the right-hand side. Cannon Cart exchanging fire one way and the other way for the two, as one is already in its phase 2. And this is good pressure on the left-hand side from Surge. I think he'll have enough here to cover that right. He might even just be sacking the right, in fact. Decides to go hard on the left. He's going to completely sack the right-hand tower. Does the left-hand push and actually get it done. 23 seconds left, and that's a whole lot of damage and not much elixir there for Vitor. Zappies in, Magic Archer to finish things off, and while the Ewiz tried to save the day, it can't get it done. So Magic Archer coming through big for Surgical Goblin. And here we go, sudden death overtime, 29-68 on the King Tower for Surgical Goblin. Some damage in kind done on Vitor's King Tower. Vitor does still have the advantage here, but a great sack tower for Surge to get back in this one. And a great NATO connection with the Golden Knight. Takes some off the board, but again, with everything stacked there, doesn't quite do enough. And now it's the counter push time for Surgical Goblin. Dark Princes in both directions. Ewiz goes high. Cannon Cart plus Ewiz working down on that Goblin drill, and a nice 2-1 split with the Zappies there to control the Dark Prince and continue pressure on the right-hand side. NATO for a little extra Magic Archer value. Cannon Cart, will it get knocked down low? No, it will not. Cannon Cart stays on the wheels. That's going to require a little bit more response out of Surgical Goblin on the right-hand side. Bar Barrel will get it out of phase 1 into phase 2. And now the Dark Prince properly picking up against that drill. And no splash damage, no Golden Knight connection for Vitor. 57 seconds left. And while that King Tower is certainly down low, the actual difference on lowest tower right now is fairly close. And Magic Archer gets one shot, so now it's 25-31 to 25-17. This is, in fact, a very, very close game between these two. The one advantage here for Vitor is he does get the push into more protection on that right-hand side of the Princess Tower, but the disadvantage is going to be easier for Surgical Goblin to get connections to get to the tower faster, especially with a Magic Archer as we get late. 21-24, 25-31. That last one did do well for Vitor, and the drill right to the front of the tower picked up by the Golden Knight. Back of the tower here for Vitor, or for Surgical Goblin, does not connect, and the Magic Archers for Vitor are just doing the job right now. Cannon Cart in the pocket gets absolutely wrecked. Trying to get across the bridge right now is Surgical Goblin. Not going to happen. Vitor doing a great job. The Magic Archers getting their value, getting their shots, and getting the big win over Surgical Goblin. What a nice one there for Vitor in the basic mirror matchup to win that. 1, 2, 3 games for Vitor, 2 games for Vitor, 3 games, and it's done. There you go. Either way, it was a fun one to watch. Love seeing Surgical Goblin back in the action. Of course, we saw him at the end of last season, and my suspicion is we're going to see him come out in full force in 2023. Not to mention this Queso Cup Teams event that's coming up soon. Very excited for that, and of course, Vitor finally starting to get his flowers a bit in Clash Royale overall. Lots of fun seeing both those guys in World Finals as well. That's it for today's video. If you want to see more matchups, go ahead and tell me down below. I'm picking up matchups, the best ones that I can from the Snapdragon Pro Series, and of course I'll be covering some of that Queso Cup Teams event that's coming up very soon as well. So if you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, make sure you come back because this is the most fun place for Clash Royale esports. I'm Rich Slayton. See you next time.